Welcome to another one of my snazzy little how-to videos. Today we'll be working on a Mercedes-Benz E320 Bluetech Diesel with a OM642 Mercedes-Benz diesel engine in it. We're going to replace the oil cooler gaskets. One of the first things I need to do is disconnect the battery. Battery on the E320 is in the trunk. I'm using a 10mm wrench, and I'm going to go ahead and just disconnect the negative. Little note on these batteries: if you get the replacement battery, make sure you get the right battery with the drain tube. Drain tube's back here. We need to remove the plenum. I just popped the crankcase ventilation from the plenum. Also attached to the plenum are the airflow sensors. The air filters have two E10 bolts, one here and one back in here. And on the driver's side there is a sensor. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull it up. Now in the bottom, you'll see here in a minute, let me get this out. There's a duct that hooks to here. When you go back together, just work this back into the duct back into place. Alright, I pulled the clip for the, comes off the top of the thermostat housing. Push, on this one you push that little tab in, and this is for the crankcase ventilation where it attaches. And I'll just let this float around. I don't think I even need to take it off. I need to drop the bottom cover off the front. I mean, I just decided to give it an oil change. I knew I had a leak. I really couldn't see the leak on the ground because it'd get up in these bottom shields that I'm, like this one I'm taking off, but the ones further back. But once I did see the leak and saw how much it's pouring out of it, I realized I need to get this sucker taken care of. There's the cover. And right here is the coolant drain. It's on the left-hand driver's side, lower portion of the radiator. I've opened up the drain for my damn radiator, and there's not a drop came out of it. And I removed the cap off the reservoir, and it's still not draining. So I'm gonna have a mess in a minute. I'll be damned if I'm gonna sit here and jack around with a finicky car. Take the duct off between the turbo where it goes through the intercooler. 3/8 12-point combination wrench is taking this bolt out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the shield that protects the serpentine belt. There are two E10 bolts. I'm going to pop this line out. You see it in that grommet. I pulled it hard enough, and here she is. There's a part that pops into the rubber grommet. Okay, I'm working on two bolts down here. At least two to hold this little deal right here in. Let this hose and this assembly drop down so I can get this assembly out. Okay, I pulled this little clip off. Hopefully this radiator hose will come off and I'm going to have a mess. But I'm not going to wait on my damn antifreeze. Nope, no antifreeze. Huh. Holy shit, I probably, not a bad idea that I'm doing this. But, truth be told, my reservoir's got plenty in it. So, I'll be damned if I know. I was able to push down on this piece and pull this hose out and work it out of the turbo. I'm going to start working on pulling the fuel filter off. Two more bolts. Another electrical connector. I'm probably going to have to pull the lines off, but if I can roll it out of the way somehow, I will do that. Little junction block off. That flips out of the way. My third bracket bolt for my fuel filter I'm working on. Push this in and release that clip. I'm going to take the passenger side fuel rail off. 19 millimeters, the wrench. Okay, this line does not want to come off. This line cruises across and attaches to the driver's side fuel rail. I'm going to go ahead and bust the driver's side fuel rail nuts loose, and then these two E10s, and get some play in here, and I bet you this line will come right off. Taking this little bracket off so I can get this little deal that holds these electrical wires that go underneath everything. If I get some play in here, I can probably get this fuel rail to move around. The back metal line here doesn't want to come off. There's one more bolt. Removing the ejector lines with a special socket. There's a special socket. 17 millimeter. Try and get some play in this driver's side fuel rail. I was able to stick my 19 underneath that fuel rail and pry on it a little bit, and I was able to work this fuel line out. 3 bolts. Take this little heat shield off the turbo. Now to take the clamp off the turbo back here and start digging for some bolts down below there. Just regular old 13 millimeter hex head for the clamp that holds the turbo to the diesel particulate filter. Okay, 3 E12s hold this back of the turbo on, this back elbow. The 2 tops, I used the hell did I use? I used a 3/8 12 point on the E12. The bottom I used an E12, 2-inch extension and a breaker bar. The bottom is notch. So as soon as I busted it loose, maybe quarter turn, this lifted right off. But getting to it was a pain in the ass. The turbo sucks. Okay, down inside here, once you take this elbow off, you got a Y here. This goes to one bank. There's 3 bolts. They're E12s. And there's 3 on this side. This is actually the gasket laying loose, falling out. And there's 2 E10s going into here. Take these 2 E10s out. Take these E12s. I shot them with PB Blaster first. For some reason, I do think it helps. And you get to one bolt here, the other bolt here, the other one here. But this is a problem. This little elbow is in the way. But these bolts want to strip out. So once these 2 are out from here, you can kind of bend this little booger over just enough to get in there and get this back bolt out. I mean, it was a son of a gun, and I fought with it, and I fought with it, and I fought with it, and I just had to keep bending on this and just force this over. And then you got 2 E12s down here, one here, one way in here. But they come out pretty easy. And then we've got 2 bolts down in here. These are T45, at least on this 2008 Mercedes. Now the turbo is really close to wanting to come out. But I just wanted to stop and show you that first. Okay, the turbo's off. I had to pull this bracket out. It just mounted right back here in this back corner to allow me to move the turbo back and then up. This mount right here was where the 2 bolts from the top, the 2 T45s went. This is a port in the return for the oil to lubricate the turbo. I'm going to pull this mount or whatever you want to call it out. They're E12s. There's the bracket. Might be getting closer to that daggone oil cooler. I took this jumped right here off. There was 4 bolts here, or there's 3 plus this one that holds a bracket. There's 2 bolts that held to that bracket right there. Turbo's out. Took all the manifold bolts out. There's just a series of bolts going through there. Some are taller than the others. There's a water line in the back of the EGR that I can't get to. So I took these 2 bolts out. The EGR didn't want to move. I sprayed it with a little bit of PB Blaster. Give it a few love taps just on the edge of the metal here. Worked dilution, she came right out. So I got one more water line, which is right here, which I should be able to get a screwdriver and pliers on and get that thing off of there. Then the intakes are ready to come out. I'm gonna get that line off, and I'm gonna work this manifold out of here. And here is the oil cooler. Use a T40 Torx bit to remove the bolts for the oil cooler. These are the old seals. But these purple seals are supposed to be better. Got the valley cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and put this oil cooler in. When I put something in like this, I like to start from one corner, go to kitty corner to the next corner, snug everything down a little bit at a time. Then once I get them all torqued down or tight to where I want them, then I usually go in a circle, tightening things up. That way if I missed one, I'll find it. I use a lot of brake clean. That's how I clean this valley, was using brake clean. I'm going to try my luck stabbing the 2 intakes as an assembly, because I have not unsnapped the electric motor for these flaps. This linkage and these flaps. A lot of people eliminate the flaps and have the holes welded up. My linkage is all still solid, and I didn't undo it because I should have gotten some replacement plastic pieces, snaps or whatever, with my kit. I don't see them, and I don't want to try to undo them because they say they break real easy. They may very well break for me putting it in, but I'm going to give it a try. My harness is tied up somewhat. I'm going to try to go right through here. Let's see what happens. That's a piece that, it's a passage between the 2 intakes, and this is a new one. Had a little bit of problem with my gaskets that go behind these intakes, so I put wire ties on 2 on each side to support the front and the back of each gasket. Should be one back here somewhere. I wiggled them in place. This little aluminum round piece that I showed you, it wanted to pop out and cause me trouble, but I finally got it in. I'm going to cut these wire ties. I've already got 2 bolts on each side started. So I'm going to cut those wire ties, and I'm going to draw it down, see how everything feels. Okay, I've got the manifold bolts tight. So, and I cross-torqued everything. Come on. Come on. You want to help me? Just an interesting little note. Both of these bolts use the same tool to take them off. They each have a different shank diameter. I actually kind of discovered that on my turbo. Trying to put these little bolts in here. These gaskets for these bolts have little notches inside the bolt holes that hold onto the thread of the bolt. So I was starting the bolts, and I tried, because I knew it took an E10 to take the damn thing off. So I was trying to find the right bolt. I shoved this E10 in, it just flops in there. So then I made the discovery that there's actually the same E10 tool, but a different shank. Oh well, you learned something new. The gaskets to the exhaust, between the exhaust manifolds and the turbo, just drop down on the flanges of the exhaust manifold like this. They got little keepers on the side that'll help steady them, but they're not going to hold them real solid. This little gasket right here also has little tangs on it that hold it in place so you can set the turbo in. Sometimes if I need to get the bolt to hold itself up into the socket, I'll take a piece of paper towel, shove it over the head of the bolt. Usually just one layer works. Then shove the bolt into the socket. It's not a real tight fit, but it'll steady it. Then I rip the towel off the edges. And try to be careful that I don't bump it and knock it off of there. This gold bolt way down in here, copper colored bolt, is very hard to get to. Therefore, I made my own little tool. I should at least be able to draw it down tight. But she's drawn down. Yeah, man. I'll devise a way to hunker down on her. I'll probably be able to put something right in this slot and go from up top and use a handle of some sort. I'm going to start my bolts that attach the turbo to the mounting brackets. I'm going to get everything loosely started. Except for this little pipe right here. I can't line these bolts up. So I've had to bend this to get this back bolt out. And once I got the back bolt torqued down, and then I'll be able to bend this back in place and put the bolts in. Make sure you put this harness in, get it down below the turbo before you bolt the turbo down solid. Really, before you put the turbo in, set this harness in. I didn't, so save yourself some time and don't do what I did. Quick note, this 3/8 swivel head ratchet does a great job as to getting to this bottom bolt for the elbow. Said I fought with it getting out, but I didn't have this ratchet on me. 2-inch extension, 12.3/8 did a good job. I hope you understand that when I say a bolt is a 13 millimeter or whatever, I'm usually referring to the wrench that takes the bolt off. I do understand that a bolt is measured by the diameter of its shank, the length of its shank, and how many threads per inch. But I'm just trying to give you an idea of what wrenches you need. And earlier I said that the injection lines were 19 millimeter. They're actually 18. I hardly ever grab an 18 millimeter out of my toolbox because I've only used it very few times. So La-di-da, she's an 18. What do you know? And what else? I'm certain there's a few other things I discovered along the way. But let's dump some oil and some antifreeze into this thing and see if she runs. All right, we're test driving it. Let traffic pass. Get down the road, doing about 15, 20. I'm gonna punch it. Sticking with good old Mercedes-Benz balls to the walls, old diesel running pretty good. They wanted to punch it to make sure I didn't have any induction problems with my all the lines and crap I had all. She will go in the limp mode if she does, and cross your fingers. So far, so good. I'm going to take it home. I'm going to park it. In the morning, I'm going to double check the oil and the coolant, unless I see crap dripping out of it tonight. But she's buttoned up. Hardly had any parts left over. Thanks for watching my videos. Please like and subscribe, and I'll show you more videos on the internet as we go along.